How many of you are willing to change? When someone says they go change, or more realistically, our loved ones try to couch it in a less offensive way. Why don't you go find yourself? Any of you heard that? And where do most people go find themselves? Boulder, Colorado. Yeah, we could hop on buses today and we could pull into Boulder, Colorado. And when we arrived, we would actually see people walking out in the bushes with backpacks on looking for themselves. What's my point? Self is not discovered. Self is created. Again, no matter what your past has been, you have a spotless future. So let me ask you, how many of you are willing to change? To help you answer, change is so negative, most of us are reluctant. And everybody says change is the only constant in the universe. No, our resistance to change is the only constant in the universe. Answer, do you agree that change from the outside in is reactive change and it creates pressure? Oh no, now what? Oh no, the interest rates. Oh no, the economy. Oh no, the higher sales quota. Oh no. Do you agree that change from the outside in is reactive change and it creates a victim mentality? Any of you live with a victim mentality? Don't raise your hands. Any of you work with a victim mentality? Definitely don't raise your hands. What's a victim mentality? Woe me. Oh my gosh, what a drag. Do you realize that if all of us in this room today were looking out the same pane of window and we were watching the same brutal rainstorm, and one of you said, what a horrible day, and the rest of us said, no, what a wonderful day, the weather did not change. We don't see things as they are. We see things as we are. Victim mentality. And how many of us are guilty allowing something so uncontrollable like the weather to change our attitude, which changes our behavior? Are we not all guilty? I live in Utah. I live by Snowbird Ski Resort in Utah. When it snows in Utah, we ski. Anybody here from the Midwest? Minnesota, North Dakota, Wisconsin, Michigan. When it snows in the Midwest, you fish. Anybody here from the South? Oh, yeah. I was in Dallas, Texas a few years ago at the Super Bowl when it snowed. And that same weekend, it snowed in Charlotte, North Carolina. It snowed in Atlanta, Georgia. When it snows in the South, you crash your cars. In fact, if you're from Atlanta, you actually leave your car on the highway and walk home when it snows. Anybody here from California? Oh, yeah, we love your country. Great country. A couple of years ago, it snowed in Temecula. I was there. A few years before that, it snowed in Malibu Beach. No one had ever seen snow before. All the crazies were out on the sidewalk going. They thought it was cocaine from God. They're like, whoa, dude, I believe I'm going to save this. Buy me a new F-150 on the weekend. What's my point? Change from the outside in is reactive change, and it creates pressure. So what we're about today is not change from the outside and feeling like we're victims. The goal is to focus in on change from the inside out because it's proactive, because it creates power. And how does it create power? It reminds us about what we've been talking about. That you can't always control what happens, but you can always control what happens next. Which means change from the inside out is never change at all. It's proactively stretching. To illustrate stretch, I snapped my Achilles tendon playing basketball with the guys on my street, trying to be 20 years old again. And the gentleman who operated on my ankle, his name is Dr. Jim Morgan. He was actually playing in the game. He denies it, but with all of my heart, I think he came up from behind me in the game and said, I need a new boat. And he pushed me down. He surgically reattached my Achilles tendon, put it in a plaster cast for 3.5 months. I got the cast off and I was immediately placed into physical therapy. Any of you ever been in physical therapy? Physical therapy teaches us 2 things that are relevant to this discussion about change. Number 1, I go into the physical therapist's office, he warms up my ankle. Then he takes the tip of my foot and he bends it and stretches it to a place it's never ever been before. And as I'm sitting there hanging on with visions of sugar plums pinballing around in my head, he lets go. And it flips back into the exact same spot it was in before he started to stretch me. Wouldn't that be a complete waste of your time, of your money, of your life that you'll never ever relive again? If we as speakers and presenters do everything we know how to do to stretch you intellectually and emotionally, and you just leave this convention ballroom, go back home and flip on back into the exact same spot you were in before you arrived, most of the time that's what happens in meetings, and that's why we discount the power of meetings. In fact, that's why we discount the power of motivational speakers. Any of you ever heard a motivational speaker speak before? Yeah, don't get so excited. I don't enjoy them either. They always say shallow, goofy things like we become what we think about. That's not true. If that was true, I'd have been a woman by the time I was 12 years old. I want to be an inspirational speaker because in my mind, that word inspiration seems to indicate that the message will outlast the meeting. That if we talk about the right things, yes, we can change our mindset and change our behavior and change our attitudes and change our lives in 1 hour, 60-minute keynote. If we're willing to start the stretch and then surround ourselves with people who are willing to support us in keeping that stretch alive. Which brings me to the second thing we learn from physical therapy. You have to stretch before you strengthen. And here's the kicker. All the strengthening occurs in the area past the point of discomfort. I know a lot of superstar athletes. I know a lot of superstar professionals. May I be so bold as to throw myself onto your heap? We have the ability to push ourselves to the point of discomfort all by ourselves. But I know of no one who has the ability to push themselves into the area past the point of discomfort all by themselves. In order to stretch, we need each other in a trusting relationship to not only engage with one another to start the stretch, but to keep the stretch alive.